and you can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHalfNFL. I'm joined today by the best co-host in the game. You have heard him on the Tough Cover radio show. It is Mark Henry Jr. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. underscore. Mark, how are you doing today?
Doing great. One of my favorite topics here that we do. Always love the drafts and the lists in the off season, filling the time till we get to the real stuff. But Shane, we're getting there here. We're around the corner. We're getting closer and closer. I think it's 5 weekends away from week one of college football, and this year has like four major matchups that even Shane might watch, like some Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, Miami. Bama's playing someone, Clemson, LSU, and then you got NFL the next weekend. We're getting there. We're getting close.
I am much more invested in college football like the first 2 weeks of the season when
Yeah,
it's been forever since we've had football. It's been funny, like I did not buy this year's college football game.
it's downloading right now, Shane.
Nice.
I've been traveling for work. I just got home. It's downloading right now.
I was planning to buy Madden this year because I just don't have time to play both anymore. And I bought college football last year, so I was going to buy Madden this year to play it with my son a little bit. Maybe do some online videos with like pass concepts with it, different stuff like that. And anyways, but I've seen people on like the college football Reddit and stuff complaining about how Dynasty's broken, and it's like I did this season and like I lost 28 people to transfer or
Yeah,
whatever, and I was like, yeah, that exact reason that you guys are frustrated with this game is why I'm just pretty much over college football at this point. But I
I think there's
digress.
positives and negatives of like all things. I do think it's. I don't know. I don't even want to have a whole thing there, but detour real quick. How are we feeling about the Sooners going into the year, Shane?
uh, Based off of last year, not great. I don't
Do
know.
you,
I don't
how
know much
aware?
about the new quarterback they got,
Yeah,
so
he is a stud.
yeah, I have a
John
lot of faith
McPherson.
in the defense as long as Venables is there, and it's the offense was just so atrocious last year. It kind of the quarterback play and the O line play was so atrocious last year. It made it hard to really evaluate anything else.
You guys have an insane schedule. I've actually read some conspiracy theories out there. If you look at Texas's schedule in their first couple of years here in the SEC, and you compare it to Oklahoma, which theoretically they're supposed to do it regionally, and Texas, Oklahoma should be in the same region. There's a reason for the Red River rivalry. So people have been really there's been some conspiracy theories and eyebrows raised about the way Oklahoma's kind of gotten screwed schedule wise, and how Texas is kind of, they are the biggest college football market. They have the Longhorn Network. Like there's a reason they have their own channel. So they've gotten a little bit of the red carpet into the SEC, while Shane and the Sooners have gotten kind of a trip to the dungeon. And the schedule this year is really difficult, but I do think Oklahoma is. I think it's the most talented team of the Venables era, and it's probably the best quarterback of the Venables era. I really like Mateer, so I think I had you guys at 8-4. So that might not sound great. You
I'd
go through
take
that
it after
schedule.
last year.
You go through that schedule 8-4. It means you probably have some really impressive or fun kind of wins against real teams in there. So a little detour there.
Yeah, I was talking to my son last night. He was asking when football season starts. I was like, well, training camp's next week and preseason's in a couple weeks, so we're almost there. But we're not quite there yet. And what we're gonna do today is one of our favorite off-season exercises, I think. At least it's one of my favorites. Anytime Mark and I can draft teams, that's a lot of fun. We love the expansion draft where we're working together in that one. This one we're going to be drafting against each other. We're going to be drafting all under 25 teams against each other. And so the way this is going to work, and you guys that have followed us, you've seen us do this in previous off seasons, but we are going to draft a 22 round draft to fill out an offense and a defense made entirely of players that are under the age of 25. And so the cutoff date is September 1st. So they cannot turn 25 before September 1st, which basically means they were born on or after September 1st, 2000. And so there's some really good young players that are knocked out of this that were in it last year. Jamar Chase, Patrick Surtain, Sauce Gardner, Aiden Hutchinson. A lot of those type guys are out. Poor Jack Campbell missed it by a week. His birthday's August 22nd, so he's too old. Even though he's 24 now, he'll be 25 before September 1st. And so we're going to draft these teams against each other, and then you guys can chime in and let us know whose team you like. We do both realize that most of you guys are Eagles fans and massive homers. They're just going to vote for whoever drafts the most Eagles. But I refuse to pander. I'm going to draft what I think will be the best team. I'm going to have some pride in my team.
There's a couple good Eagles to take.
I know. I'm just not going to try not to reach for the rest of them, just to pander to my audience here. I know that's how you win, but we love to do this because we're draft guys and we get to have a discussion about some of these guys that are, been in the league for a year or 2 or 3 years and just kind of talk about where they're at. So those are the rules. One other thing, we are allowed to draft 2 rookies total. So like Mark gets 2 rookies, I get 2 rookies. So everybody overrates rookies. Everybody thinks no rookie ever busts. And so you guys all like the all rookie team too. So we're not going to do that. Each of us are allowed 2 total rookies. They can be on either side of the ball or split. And so that's pretty much how it works. If you guys are watching live, feel free to drop a comment and let us know. And otherwise, let's dive into it. Mark, I forgot. Do you care who has first pick?
You take the first pick. I'm going to let you do what I think you're going to do.
Okay. You let me do what I think I'm going to do. I was like, I should have had the little wheel spinner ready, and I didn't. And okay.
You go first. That way I'll go first whenever we do our next thing.
Okay. Sounds good. If I am going first, then I'm going to take Jalen Carter.
Oh man, I was trying to be sneaky. I thought you would do something else. That would have been my first pick as well.
Yeah, not only do I think Jalen Carter is awesome, and obviously he plays to my viewer base a little bit, but also Jalen Carter there's a significant drop off to interior defensive linemen too, and so which comes into play a lot here. Sometimes you have to go get guys that, there's going to be a big drop off after them. And I think that's the case with Jalen Carter as well. So lack of good players here and superstar player meet, and Jalen Carter is the first off of the board.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have 3 guys at the top, and I think there's a consent. Like most people would think that the guy I'm going to take now is the guy that would go first, and that's Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I thought that's what Shane was going to do, so I was trying to be sneaky, and I would come back and take Jalen Carter, and then take who I'm going to take with my third pick. But the first 2 picks, I think, had to be Jalen Carter and Jaden Daniels. I think they're pretty easily the most valuable player on defense under 25 and the most valuable player on offense under 25. But you're right. I think that the drop off from Jalen Carter to the next defensive tackle is bigger than the drop off from Jaden Daniels to who I'm not going to say it. So maybe Shane has a different quarterback in mind. So I'll let Shane pick that. But whoever he picks, I think the drop off will be smaller to Jaden than the drop off is from Jalen to the other 3 defensive tackles we'll draft.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think there's Jaden was my QB1, and I had a high priority. I listed out priorities on positions, and that was a high priority position because I think he's awesome. And also, it's just kind of nice that now I can just save quarterback till round 22, but defensive tackle's still in play. But
yeah, that is a nice benefit as well. And something else, I actually would argue if you made just like a straight up top 20, like no positional value to it, like top 20 players under 25, could you argue like 6 to 8 of them are corners?
Yes.
So that's going to be like, people are going to be like, oh, why isn't this guy going? Or why isn't this guy going? Quinyon, DeJean. There's so many good ones under 25 compared to these other positions. So we're probably going to focus on these other positions first.
Yeah. We won't necessarily be drafting the best players first. There's going to be an element of scarcity in play as well. So
yeah, let me bounce back here, and I'm going to stay on offense, and I'm going to go with Brock Bowers at tight end. This is another one that I think there's a really, really big gap between 1 to 2. I think I am now going to probably be forcing Shane to use one of his rookies there. If I were to guess on who Shane takes at the tight end 2 there. So I think what Bowers did last year is actually being undersold, if that's possible. I don't think people realize, and I get like the whole offense was based around him. So it's not some amazing thing to get a billion targets and catch a lot of them. But it is when you have 112 catches, 1,194 yards in your first year in the NFL, and you have Aiden O'Connell throwing you the ball. And it's not like he had 153 targets. So it's not like he had 180 targets. Like 112 catches on 153 targets as a rookie and being pretty productive on those from a yardage standpoint, and 5 touchdowns on a terrible, terrible team. Like, obviously Bowers a really good blocker as well. Like, I think he is immediately the best tight end on the planet. And there's a big fantasy argument right now, Shane. I know Shane's not a fantasy guy, but Bowers and Trey McBride is the big tight end one argument this year. And people out there saying, Trey McBride has never really scored touchdowns. So if he starts to score touchdowns, then, he could easily pass Bowers. I think it's crazy to say this: 112 catches, 1,194 yards. How much further up can he go? But with a real quarterback and a real system there for Bowers, even if it's not crazy, even if it's not 130 catches for 1,500 yards, I think he'll probably be even more efficient with his targets and his catches going forward with a real quarterback. So I think we're only scratching the surface of how good Bowers is going to be going forward.
Yeah, given the amount he was targeted, so he was 4th in yards per route run among tight ends last year at 2.02. Anytime you're over 2 as a tight end, that's awesome. But when you do it, and you're targeted on over a quarter of your routes, like, being so effective with such high volume is really impressive. And I remember when tight ends came into the league and you expected them to take a few years to get up to speed, and Brock Bowers was incredible. I already have him as we're doing our positional rankings for Birds of the Roundtable, which I should send you mine and get your thoughts on it. But Brock Bowers was my number 2 tight end in the NFL already after his
I think
season.
He's one.
Yeah, I still had him below Kittle just because of how long Kittle has done it and how awesome Kittle is as both a blocker and a yak guy. But I don't. If Bowers follows up with a sophomore campaign like his rookie season, those probably flip next year for me.
I think I'd argue Kittle's injury history, and he kind of misses like 4 to 6 games a lot. It feels like. I don't think he did last year. I think he played a really healthy year last year, but it feels like Kittle's missed enough time for me to say that can outweigh it a little bit. So I would go Bowers 1, but it's nothing. Kittle would be 2 from a real life standpoint. Kittle's tight end 3 for fantasy. And then you add everything he does as a blocker. It obviously he's special.
Looks like over the last 4 seasons, Kittle has played 14, 15, 16, and 15 games.
So it's a little more than I thought. I guess as a fantasy guy, you always think about those 2 or 3 misses, but that's more than I thought.
So, all right. So you double dip on offense here, and both of them were positions I had high priorities on. There's 2 positions left that I have high priorities on, and so I'm probably going to target both of these on the wraparound. And so my first spot I'm going to go is to offensive tackle, and I'm going to take Penei Sewell. I think Penei Sewell is, all the discourse about Lane Johnson and Penei Sewell aside, Penei Sewell is just incredible. And there's a pretty big drop-off when you're going to go from Sewell to another tackle under the age of 25. I want to have an awesome offensive line, and so I'm going to go there, and then I'm going to run it back with Tyler Smith at offensive guard for the same reasons. I think there is quite a bit of a gap at offensive guard, if I'm being honest, after Tyler Smith. I think it's one of the positions that is weaker for the younger guys. And so give me Tyler Smith. We'll double dip on the offensive line here, and we will kick it back over to you. We've got a comment here from Henry name dropping Jahmyr Gibbs in the chat, and we'll get there. We will get there. There's some running backs for sure. Yeah.
A lot of good running backs, so that makes it a little tougher. I would have taken Tyler Smith here. I wouldn't have taken Sewell, and it's not about how good Sewell is or isn't. I actually feel pretty good about the offensive tackle depth out there. I feel good about a couple guys at least.
Yeah, there's some other good guys. His was less about scarcity and more about just how awesome I think he is.
He's elite, absolutely. There's no debating that. As I talk to stretch out the time, I figure out who to pick. I'm going to take Kyle Hamilton at safety. That's my guy. I think there's 3 really good safeties to take, so I think there will be maybe one safety who's lesser than the other guys, but I'm going to go and get the best guy out there. And you know, I think it was how crazy was it last year? I mean, we talked about it constantly on our weekly shows where they tried to use him as everything but a safety to start the year. They had one of the worst defenses in football, and they switched him back to his natural safety position where he's the best in the world at it. And they naturally became like a top 5 defense immediately
Yeah.
after he went there. I think nothing more can demonstrate his value than that.
Yeah, and I get it because slot is such an important position. This is something Johnny and I have talked about before about like Quinyon and Cooper DeJean. And, if you could only keep one, who would you keep? And it's tough because like Quinyon is the better player.
Yeah.
And Cooper DeJean is the more impactful player for the defense because of the position he plays. And I think that's the conundrum that the Ravens got caught in, and so they tried it out and it didn't work, and they put him back at safety, and that's where he needs to be. But I get why they tried him at slot. But yeah, for just premier safety in the league.
And he wasn't bad at it either. I think they had a really bad guy who filled in at safety as well, which hurt the situation also. But when you have a guy who's just so elite at something, yeah, it's hard to want to take them away from that. I'm between two guys here. Which trench do I go to? I'm going to go. Give me Joe Alt. Give me Joe Alt on the offensive line. Notre Dame boy had an amazing year his first year, and he's one of the primary reasons. I think I've said this on the show before. The Chargers are my pick to win the AFC, Shane. I think you look at Slater and Alt on both sides. They went out and signed Mekhi Becton. You went out and drafted Trey Harris to put him on the other side of Ladd McConkey. You went out and drafted Omarion Hampton at running back, who I think is an amazing running back prospect who's going to be immediately a top 10 to 15 back, in my opinion. I think that this Chargers offense is going to be really, really fun. Even if it's not an explosive passing offense, I think they're going to be really efficient as a passing offense. They're going to be a really good offensive line. They're really well coached. And the defense performed way well above their heads last year and were very young and only going to get better. Not to make this about the whole Chargers, but Joe Alt, one of the reasons that I feel really good about the Chargers, not only overtaking the Chiefs in that division, but winning the whole AFC.
Yeah, and I mean that Joe Alt, Rashawn Slater pairing at tackle is just, it's so good. And I thought it was kind of funny. We did our offensive tackle rankings last week, and in my top 16, I had 4 duos. It's funny, like some of the teams that just have like all-world tackles, bookends on both sides of the ball, and if you can just get these guys to be healthy, because Rashawn Slater has had injury issues. Alt didn't. Alt had a rough end of the year. Had a bad playoff performance against Houston. Will Anderson. It happens. But that's such a good duo, and with some of the news about Rashee Rice, and he'll probably be suspended now, you can't help but wonder. Of course, we've doubted the Chiefs for years, and they just keep making it to Super Bowls, so we'll see.
We haven't necessarily. I feel like we've been pretty good at that.
Well, I was good last year. 2 years ago is the year that I was like. 2 years ago was the year that I had the message I sent to you that was like, I feel like when the Chiefs lose a divisional round playoff game, we're going to look back on them not making a move for wide receiver as the reason why, and then they went and made it to the Super Bowl again. But
yeah, I think mostly we haven't been. We've kind of made fun of a lot of those shows that come on every time the Chiefs lose in the regular season. Is it over? Or are they going to lose? Like, we've made fun of that more than we've fallen victim to it, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay, so it comes back to me. And I see, now I'm starting to, there's a bunch of different positions I could go to, and I'm trying to figure out what's the most advantageous. I'm going to go ahead and take Brian Branch. Give me Brian Branch. He's another one of those safeties that you were talking about that's just an elite guy in the league. And I feel like there's another good safety, and I'm trying to decide if I want to take him as well or if I want to go somewhere else. And I think I'm just going to take him because I think there's a drop-off there. So I'll get his running mate, too. Give me Kirby Joseph.
Yeah.
And I realized doing this ranking, I was like, man, I like a lot of the Lions because, Jahmyr Gibbs is ranked. Sam Laporta is ranked. at tight end. He might end up being my tight end. So this
I'll
might
be
be I
honest.
might be the Lions at the end of this.
I'll be honest. I missed Sam Laporta being under 25. I don't know why, how I missed that, but I missed that. So that hurts my Bowers pick a little bit. Hand up, I won't lie. I think it's still a good pick, but hand up, I thought you had to go Warren or Loveland there.
Well, I'm honestly I'm debating Warren and Laporta, but I would have taken Bowers. I had a high priority on tight end too because I think Bowers is just so much better.
You'll probably want to use the rookies elsewhere if I had to guess, so instead of going Warren over Laporta. But that hurts my pick a little.
You love to see it. All right.
Those are great picks. That hurts my Hamilton pick as well.
All right. Well, let's throw it back to you here. I honestly, I was gonna take Branch, and then I was like, do I take Joseph? Because I probably have a rookie at safety 4, and I was like, do I want to give him a chance to get Joseph and lock myself into a rookie, or do I want to keep that flexible? And honestly, I just wasn't sure which way to go there, but
I have a rookie there as well. Probably a different rookie than most, though. But I'm going to go with the guy we just talked about, the terrorized Joe Alt. He no longer can terrorize Joe Alt. Put Will Anderson on the trenches. That's who I was between Alt and Anderson. And I thought I was just going to take whoever you didn't take of Branch and Joseph. I actually kind of think Joseph is better than Branch, but that's a whole other conversation. We've talked about this before, and I value turnovers, and I understand that year to year they can be very random with guys like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think Kirby Joseph, and I talked about this when I was way higher on Joseph coming out of college. I think that guy just has a special ability for making plays, whether it's forced fumbles, recovering fumbles, pick sixes. Like I think Kirby Joseph is just special. But Will Anderson, I have him comfortably ahead of the next defensive end on my list. I think some people would disagree with that. But Will Anderson had a high priority here for me.
Yeah, you mentioned the
come back where it gets tricky.
While you think, you mentioned the interceptions for Joseph. Yeah, 5 his senior year at Illinois, and then in 3 seasons in the NFL, he has 17. Like, he is a turnover machine.
Yeah, he's unbelievable, and I see no reason to think that that's not going to continue. I'm trying to decide if this guy is worth taking this high. I'm just going to do it. Give me Zach Frazier at center from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was pretty comfortably my number 1 center. Yeah. What do you think about that? You're more the O-line guy than me.
Yeah, Zach Frazier's awesome.
Yeah.
He was so unbelievably good as a rookie. I think there's some shades of like Creed Humphrey in his game, and anybody who's followed me for a while knows what a massive compliment that is coming from me, because I was the Creed Humphrey guy before it was cool to be the Creed Humphrey guy.
You were.
Maybe it's still not cool to be the Creed Humphrey guy. I don't know. Viewers will have to chime in and let me know if standing for a center is cool or not. But he was amazing as a rookie. He's not as athletic as Creed, but he's got elite play strength, and I feel like a lot of his pass protection losses last year were against looping defensive ends, which is pretty easily correctable. I mean, that's just an awareness thing, and I think as the game slows down for him, he picks that up. But even at that, he only gave up a 2.1% pressure rate, which was the 5th best among interior offensive linemen, and he did it with 2 quarterbacks in Russell Wilson and Justin Fields that hold on to the ball forever and invite pressure. And so I could not have been more impressed with Zach Frazier in his rookie season. I think that's a great pick. I wrote down in my notes a big drop-off from number 1 to 2 at center.
Yeah. I thought so. There's a couple other guys out there. I didn't know if maybe there was one of them that you were high on. I'm happy to hear you think there's a drop-off.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm done at safety. I don't need to go center, quarterback, or tight end. Do I want to grab? This is the part of the draft that makes for great podcasting while I just think. I think I'm going to go ahead and take. Do I want to do it? Yeah, I'm going to do it. Give me Jared Verse, the other edge rusher you were talking about. I hate to be chasing picks, You just took an edge rusher, and now I'm going to take Verse, so you don't end up with the Anderson Verse combination.
He's not who I was talking about.
Ah, well, all right.
But it makes sense. It makes sense that you're. I'll just say it. You're not as big as an Abdul Carter guy as most.
Well, I'm probably double dipping at edge and taking Abdul Carter.
There you go.
So
But you have a little bit more skepticism than some people out there about Carter. I think.
yeah, I think I said I had him as a red chip instead of a blue chip guy in the draft, and I don't think he is, maybe not quite as a elite. People throw around generational all the time, and I wouldn't call him that, and I don't know that you would either. I think we use that term too loosely, but people
I didn't have him as a blue chip guy.
Okay, people put him up in that elite tier, and I've got a few things that I wonder about. But yeah, Abdul Carter, I'm going to use my first rookie pick and go get Abdul Carter as well. So that gives me
Is it fair to say you liked Will Anderson as a prospect a good bit more?
yes. Yeah, I liked Will Anderson as a prospect more than Carter. And there's still some guys I debated, like, this is what my debate was. Like, do I want to use one of my rookie picks on Abdul Carter here and lock that in? Because if not, it doesn't really make sense to lock you out of Verse because you would still have access to Carter. And there's some other guys. I mean, Karloftis is there. Nolan Smith is still there. And then, there's some other guys that just haven't panned out in the way that we thought they might yet, like Kevon Thibodeau, Leatu Latu. But I'll definitely take the dart throw here on Abdul Carter, and that sets up a really good pass rush duo for me. So Jared versus Abdul Carter for me, and that burns one of my 2 rookie picks.
I'm going to go with a guy who I saw post PFF ratings, grain of salt, but he's posted a 95.1 PFF rating over his last 5 games of the year. He was good the rest of the year. Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker from Green Bay. Lot of puff pieces coming out of Green Bay saying this guy could be like defensive player of the year candidate one day. And this guy is he was a big time prospect, rookie last year, right? Not a second year.
Rookie.
Yes, rookie last year. So really came on strong at the end of the year. And linebacker, there's some guys out there. I think he's pretty comfortably number 1 for me on my board. There's a guy who maybe could close that gap a little bit, but I went with Cooper.
Yeah, what's interesting with Cooper is, like, we kind of talked about Edgerrin Cooper as maybe being an edge rusher in the NFL, and then he just basically wasn't. He dropped into coverage. I can give you the exact number. He dropped into coverage on 75% of his passing down snaps last year. So they didn't use him to rush the passer almost at all. And he was actually pretty solid in coverage. And so, Edgerrin Cooper, he was my linebacker 1. I think he's an awesome player that, the Eagles I would love it if he was on the Eagles. And that was the whole thing. We kept linking him to the Eagles in the draft process and mock drafts, trying to speak it into existence, and it just didn't work out.
No, yeah, he was a guy we definitely liked. I'm gonna go with another first year guy, kind of just a run stuffing big man. I feel like he's kind of what we wanted Jordan Davis to be, or at least was in his rookie year. Tavondre Sweat from Tennessee. Plug him in there to just clog up the middle.
All right.
Did you have him on your board?
I did not, but I thought about him.
I could tell when Shane wasn't ready with the copy paste. I could tell Shane wasn't considering him. So bad pick by Mark.
Well, I thought I had it. I thought I left him on there because I tried to put together a bunch of the ones so I could just copy paste in, and he is one that I thought about, and I must have deleted that column at some point. But he was not in my little ranking. But when you started talking about big run stuffer, I knew you were either talking about him or one other guy that I won't mention at this point. But we'll see if he comes up later.
I was a bit higher on Sweat coming out as well, I remember. And so I felt like he was pretty impactful in a bad situation last year.
Yeah. And one thing, if you're a run stuffer and you get drafted by the Titans, you get a lot of chances to stuff the run late in games when you're down by 3 scores and teams are trying to run out the clock. So
that's fair.
Okay. We come back over to me. I do not need to take my center yet. I don't need to take Let's see. Do I want to go offensive line? I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go offensive line. Give me Paris Johnson Jr. as my other tackle.
Good pick.
I think Paris Johnson Jr. really solid player, and him as a tackle duo with Penei Sewell is going to be really good for me. And I think I'm going to actually. Am I going to take a guard? I'm going to stick on the offensive line, and I'm going to take a guy that. Oh no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't want to do that. Do I? No, I'm going to take. Shoot. This is great podcasting again.
If it helps you, I'm hoping you go offensive line.
Yeah.
So
Or
maybe
is that a mind game?
It could be.
You know what? I'm not gonna do that. I was gonna cause myself a problem later. Let's go linebacker. Give me Leo Chenal.
Yeah, he was the other guy I was talking about when I took Cooper and said, if you want to argue, maybe there's one guy. He's had some coverage issues recently, but he's so good otherwise.
Yeah, I kind of had him, and I had him slightly above Edger and Cooper, but they were basically the same for me. I was like, just get one of these guys, but I definitely didn't want to miss both of them. So
Yeah.
I'll take Leo Chenal and kick it back over to you.
I'll take Ivan Pace,
Okay.
linebacker from the Vikings. I don't want to use a rookie on that spot. And if I don't take Pace, I think I'm going to have to use a rookie. So that's pretty much what that pick is.
Ooh, I think you're forgetting somebody.
That could be true. Is it an Eagle?
It is an Eagle.
Yeah, Nakobe.
Yeah.
I feel weird drafting him when I think he's going to miss like the whole year.
Yeah, I don't know what the injury thing is going to be like, but he was
Yeah.
so good last year before he got hurt.
So
So
that's the only fact. That's the only reason I have him listed, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. This is kind of weird.
The other linebacker I had was like, if I want to use a rookie pick, take Jahad Campbell. But
that's who else. Yeah. I have those two guys on my list. I didn't want to use a rookie, and I feel weird drafting Nakobe. So that's what it came down to. I'm gonna go with a guy.
By the way, I don't know if you remember or not, but I was a big Ivan Pace guy in the draft too. He's a guy
you
that
were.
I
You were.
really liked.
You were. I don't. This is gross. This is a gross pick I'm gonna make here, but I don't want to go double rookie. I definitely don't want to go double rookie here. So I'll take a guy who was a big prospect. He's going into his third year. I'm just the Titans guy. He was drafted as a tackle. He's been a guard. Last year, he did have a good pass block. I guess both years he's had a good pass blocking grade as a guard, better than run blocking. So maybe he's a tackle. I don't know. But Peter Skoronski is going to be my one guard.
All right. Peter Skoronski, come on down. Okay, so I'm going to end up with an Eagle at my other linebacker spot, but I can wait on that to give me flexibility to be a rookie or not. I could take my other defensive lineman. Maybe that's what I do. I don't need to take center yet. Or do I go... I could go guard. I don't need to go tight end. I could go running back, wide receiver. So I could start... There's so many good receivers and corners, it almost feels like a waste to take them so early. I'm going to go ahead and finish out my defensive line. Give me Keanu Benton for my other defensive tackle. A little bit more of a run stuffer than a pass rusher, but Keanu Benton's really good, and I think he's got some ability to rush the passer as well that we've seen in Pittsburgh, and obviously he plays on a really good defensive line there where he's not going to be the focal point, but I don't think he's going to be the focal point of pass protection on a line with Abdul Carter, Jalen Carter, and Jared Verse either. So Keanu Benton rounds out my defensive line. Unfortunately, it makes it where you don't need to pick defensive line anymore for a while. But I'll go there. I do not want to make my linebacker decision yet. Do I want to make my guard decision? Man. See, I'm in a conundrum. I think I'm gonna take the guy. I've got two guards left on my board. and one of them's a rookie. And so if you
Yeah.
take the other one, I'm forced to take a rookie, and that locks me out of rookies. And so I'm trying to decide, but I don't really have a place that I have to have another rookie.
I only have one. So I only have, I'm going to have a rookie safety. So I have like one for the rest of my roster. I'm trying to figure out who that should be.
Yeah, I've got 3 spots that I have written down. I could take a rookie, and I think the upgrade at guard is the biggest, maybe. But if I could get pigeonholed into him, man, I'm just gonna let that play out. I think I will go get. I'm gonna go get my corner one. Give me Trent McDuffie.
It's a good pick.
So Trent McDuffie, CB1. Um, yeah, there's a lot of corners, but he's awesome. So then I'll throw it back over to you.
I'm going to go with a guy who, over the last 10 games last year, this guy's being drafted as wide receiver 4 in fantasy this year, first round pick. Puka Nacua had 75 catches for 955 yards and 3 touchdowns in his last 10 games. The Rams went 8-2 in those games after struggling without him pretty hard. And not to mention, if you prorated those stats over a 17 game season, he would have finished the year with 128 catches for 1,624 yards and 5 touchdowns. Not a lot of touchdowns, but 128 catch pace for 1,623 yards over the final 10 games. And it's not like that's like a one-time thing. You go back and look at what he did as a rookie, and it was unheard of. 105 catches, 1,486 yards. So there's a lot of receivers to pick from. I would say Puka has multiple seasons of elite kind of production, whereas everybody else, you're cherry picking one, if that's fair to say.
Yeah, Puka was my wide receiver 1. Really good. And like you said, with corner and safety, we just kind of get into like there are so many, and I think that's why we both put it off for so long.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm just gonna do it. There's so many corners on the board, but you've got your Eagle, and I think you're gonna get some others. Give me Quinyon. He was so good last year. I actually think the Cooper DeJean interception and the exciting whites and all that stuff. I and Quinyon having struggling all year to make the pick until the end. What game was it that he got the pick in to close the game?
It was the Packers playoff game.
Packers playoff, yeah.
I had an all-time call out for that. I tried to make myself last year. I'm very like analytical and things, but on Birds of the Round Table, I try. Everybody gives like these outlandish prediction, like these very specific predictions, and I just am always. I was always like, they're gonna. So and so is going to be under a lot of pressure in this game from the defensive line or something. So finally, for the Packers playoff game, I was like, I'm going in on it. And my player of the game prediction was Quinyon Mitchell, and I said because he will make a game-sealing interception in the end zone late in the fourth quarter to send the Eagles on to the next round of the playoffs. And then that was his first career interception. It happened in that game, and I was like posting that clip everywhere. Yeah. It was great.
That was, but I had a buddy all year who was like, thank God Quinyon can cover and nobody throws at him because he's got the worst hands I've ever seen. Yeah. He did have like 4 or 5 chances at a pick and just was not able to get it. But other than that, I mean, he was, darn near perfect last season. I think, Sauce Gardner, I think is the best rookie season I've ever seen from a corner. I think Quinyon is, you could argue Quinyon's was better because it led to the Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl as a rookie, but Quinyon's is right there. I mean, what he did was nothing short of incredible. And like I said, I think I love Cooper DeJean. I think Quinyon is a clearly more valuable piece than Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, his I forget what the stat is that I put out. Somebody quote tweeted it from months ago the other day, and it brought it back to my mind. I can't remember what the exact number was, but Mitchell was the percentage of man coverage snaps that Quinyon was targeted on last season was the lowest of any rookie cornerback in the last 5 years.
Which includes Sauce.
And it also, and Sauce, was DJ Reed there when Sauce got drafted?
I think so.
Okay, so he had a good running mate too. But you're looking at like teams are choosing to target Darius Slay over the rookie. So like it's not like he got drafted and he had some bum at the other corner teams just threw at. Like they were choosing to throw at another really good player a lot.
And DeJean.
And DeJean, yeah.
I feel like DeJean got, especially early in the middle part of the year, they were throwing at DeJean a lot until he showed like, you can't do this. Besides the Adam Thielen game where DeJean admitted Adam Thielen cooked him.
Cooper DeJean's kryptonite is white slot receivers that are slow.
Yeah, we have to check the schedule. Did we play any white slot receivers this year? Watch out for a bad DeJean game. So.
Yeah. Man, the Chiefs really messed up. They should have got Travis Kelce in the slot a lot more in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He would have cooked DeJean. There was a lot of good jokes out of that Thielen game. I remember that.
That was crazy. He really did cook him. That was crazy.
Yeah.
You're up now. I thought I only had one there. I went Puka and then Mitchell. Yeah.
Yeah, you went Puka and Mitchell. All right, I'll take another CB. Give me Derek Stingley. Last year he's eligible for this exercise, but Derek Stingley has also been what a crazy run of cornerbacks there's been in the draft lately. I mean, you had the debates about Sauce and Stingley. It turns out they're just both like maybe top 5 cornerbacks in the NFL. And I mean, there's so many guys that have come out. It's just such a loaded position with youth right now. But then I'll bounce over and I'll take a wide receiver one to give me Brian Thomas Jr. I love Brian Thomas Jr. and he's got to clean up the drops. His drop rate was a little high, but he's got a freakish athletic profile. Made a big splash last season in a bad situation. And if there is another, I think there's a very clear tier 1 of wide receivers in the NFL in Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown. You can put those 3 in any order and I think make a reasonable argument for it, but I went Brown, Jefferson, Chase, 1, 2, 3. I think if there is another receiver that has a chance to be in that tier 1 in a couple of years, it's Brian Thomas Jr.
I think Puka has a chance.
Puka maybe could get there. I do wonder if like Puka has the athletic profile to just like become like I think he's going to be a perennial like top 5-6 receiver. Maybe, I mean, we'll see what happens after Stafford leaves because so much of his stuff is timing routes and precision, and I'm not saying I think he's a fantastic receiver. I had him ranked above Brian Thomas Jr., but I could see that aspect of his game taking a little bit of a hit when he's not with Stafford anymore, who throws those routes so well. And production's not the only thing that matters for wide receiver ranking, but I think Thomas has a better athletic profile to be able to vault into that. I think he has a wider range of outcomes, I guess, than Puka. He could end up being not nearly as good as Puka. It could have been a 1-year blip, but I could see him vaulting into that tier 1 in another season or two.
No, I definitely don't think it's a 1-year blip. I think he's awesome, and I think it was the worst situation he'll ever be in his rookie year. I think Liam Cohen will have him in better situations. I think he'll get better quarterback play, whether it's from Trevor this year or whatever happens there going forward. So I feel pretty good about Brian Thomas going forward. He is I have him as my wide receiver 8 and my number 14 overall player my number 15 overall player for fantasy this year. So early 2nd round pick. The AJ thing, I agree with you that those are the top 3. I would say that I just think what Jamar did, like I was the guy saying I think Jefferson for years has been the best receiver, and I in my heart of hearts I still kind of think Jefferson's the most talented, but I just think what Jamar did last year, it's hard to argue for anyone over him. And it's not to say I think they are the top 3. They're all relatively close, I think, in talent. I just think what Jamar did was astounding.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you can make a good argument for any of the 3.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna come back and make a homer pick. You made 2, right?
Yes.
Who you picked? Thomas.
I went Stingley and Thomas.
Yeah. I'm gonna loop back at corner and Pander again. Give me Cooper DeJean. We just had the whole conversation. We don't have to have much more of it. He's a stud. Biggest, arguably the biggest defensive play other than Brandon Graham's. Not arguably the biggest defensive play other than Brandon Graham's strip sack in franchise history. And And then I'm gonna go with, this is where it starts to be tough. Hmm.
I am shocked that you haven't taken a rookie yet.
Well, you're only allowed two, and I'm locked in on one.
Okay.
I know who you think I'm gonna take.
I I don't know. That would be impressive because I don't know who I think you're gonna take.
Okay, never mind then. Hmm. This is tough. This is tough, tough, tough. I don't think you're gonna take the one guy I'm looking at. So that's what's impacting. There's two guys that I want to take at positions. No, never mind. You filled in that one position. This is bad radio. I apologize. And bad radio, even though we're not even on the radio.
So
Um,
much of mine, there's like four different rookies I'm considering, and I don't
yeah.
need there. I don't need any of them, but some of them would like be better than others. But there's like one that's like I really want to take him. I just don't know if I can justify it, and I can't. I'm gonna have to make a decision before long. But
So I'm gonna make a pick that's a little bit fit related. I actually have a receiver ranked above this guy on
okay,
my board, but with Puka and with the amount of, I think, like slottish guy, like I think you could go Puka in the outside or a guy in the slot or someone on the outside and Puka in the slot. So I think you have a little flexibility, but to get like a true X receiver, big guy, I'm gonna go with a guy who I don't think people realize how good of a season he just had in his third year. I'm gonna go with Drake London from the Atlanta Falcons. He had 100 catches for 1,271 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. Finished as a top 10 receiver for fantasy. And then you look at what he did when Michael Penix came in. Those last 2 weeks, he had 7 catches for 106 yards on 13 targets, 10 catches for 187 yards, 2 touchdowns on 18 targets for his best game of his career when in one of the 2 games Michael Penix started. So I think there's a chance Drake London explodes onto the scene as like a bone. He finished as a top 10 guy last year for fantasy, but and I have him ranked ninth for this year. But I think there's a chance he explodes as like a top 5 fantasy season if Penix kind of looks at him the way that he was looking at him. It's 31 targets in 2 games with Penix as his quarterback. That's pretty crazy stuff. And it's the Falcons didn't go out and add any kind of receiver. It's going to be Drake London and Bijan Robinson as the top 2 targets in that offense. Kyle Pitts will get sprinkled a couple misguided targets. Darnell Mooney will get 100 targets or whatever it is. Drake London's going to have a huge, huge year.
yeah, he was my next rated receiver.
Okay,
Actually,
that makes me feel good. I didn't think he would be.
yep, he was number 3 for me. I think I'm higher on London maybe than a lot of people are though. Um, when we did our wide receiver rankings, which I keep referencing those, and you guys, if you haven't listened to him, go check out that series. But I had him ranked. Where did I have him ranked? I think I had him top 16. Yeah, I had him number 11. I had him all the way up at number 11.
Very
So
fair.
I really liked him. Actually, Brian Thomas Jr. was my number 10. Drake London was my number 11 on those
Very fair.
rankings, and I kind of used those rankings to help drive this. So, um, okay, let's see. There are 2 corners left that I like, and I would be fine with either.
That's where I'm at with that as well. I think
So
it's probably the same 2 guys.
I almost feel like I don't need to take that. I don't need to take linebacker because you're locked out of that. I don't need to take center or tight end because you're locked out of it. I don't need to take quarterback because you're locked out of it. So I can either go receivers here, receivers, offensive guard, quarterback, running back.
And I'm
And I'm
locked out at quarterback too.
oh yeah, receiver, running back, receiver, or guard basically. And I'm gonna have to make a decision on my rookie at some point. Um, man, there's 3 rookies that I like. And I can't decide what I
My
want to
problem
do
is
here.
I'll just tell you, like, I think no matter what, I'm gonna end up with a rookie at guard. And
Yeah,
that really impacts who I want to take at a different position. But whatever.
yeah, yeah. There's a rookie guard I'm considering
There's
for
multiple
sure.
for me.
Yeah. Okay. I I am going to stay away from rookie guard. So I'm going to take the non-rookie so I don't screw myself over if you end up taking him and then I have nobody else. So give me Jackson Powers Johnson as my other guard.
Solid. I didn't have him. I had him listed as a center, to be honest, but I know he plays guard.
Yeah, that is it's weird. I loved him as a center, and then they brought him in, and they played him at guard, and I thought he was really good. So give me Jackson Powers Johnson. Now I just got to decide where I want to use my rookie spot, but I don't have to do that yet. I can delay one more round, I think. So give me Malik Neighbors for my other receiver, and that will kick it back to you.
That is a good pick.
So positions that we share in common still is one cornerback spot, one wide receiver spot, and running back. So cornerback, wide receiver, and running back. You got 2 picks here.
Give me Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Okay.
From the Seattle Seahawks, a guy who I famously to me, not famous to anybody else. But if you listen to this podcast, maybe it's famous to you. I famously loved him in the draft. I think I had him like 5th overall in that draft. So loved JSN. Slow rookie year for JSN, and then last year exploded. I think JSN is going to be a stud going forward. It's funny. So Shane, I'll let you in on a fantasy thing here. There's pretty much everybody across the fantasy community has a very clear top 10. Some people have T Higgins in this. I'm low on T Higgins for fantasy, so remove T Higgins. Most people agree there's a top 10/11, including T Higgins. In no order. This is my order, but Jamar, Jefferson, Lamb, Amon-Ra, Puka, Neighbors, AJ, Brian Thomas Jr., Drake London, and Nico Collins. And then there is a massive gap to whoever you want to argue, if you're like me and you're not a T Higgins guy, is 11th, right after that elite tier. And it's the crew of Devontae Adams, who's now in LA as a wide receiver 2, Garrett Wilson with Justin Fields. Is Mike Evans going to keep being this good? Lad McConkey, is he going to take a jump? Is Terry McLaurin going to keep his wide receiver or keep his touchdown dependency up? But the answer I would give my wide receiver 11 is Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think he's going to have a huge year outside of that like truly elite fantasy tier of receivers. I think JSN has a big year. I think Darnold is going to target him a lot, especially if the O-line is not as good as it should be, which it looks like it's going to struggle on the interior. Some pressure up the middle, get the ball out quick. I think JSN is probably pretty good for that. Obviously great on slants and stuff like that. So give me JSN in my slot.
All right. So Jackson Smith-Njigba, that leaves us with only running back and corner in common. So which way do you want to go here?
I'm going to go with corner. And give me Devin Witherspoon.
Okay.
I imagine you're going to go Christian Gonzalez.
Yep.
Yeah. I was between the two. Gonzalez had the big injury, so I'll go Witherspoon.
Yeah, the only thing with Gonzalez is availability. If he can stay healthy, he's been so good. All right, so that leaves us with only running back in common. So I guess I'll take my running back here. So now I've got to decide if I'm going to use a rookie spot on Ashton Genty or not.
That's what I've been kicking around all show.
Because if I don't use it on Ashton Genty, I'm using it on Travis Hunter to play wide receiver. Those are the two I've been going back and forth on.
Oh, you should do Genty. Just to tell you, because I think I'm gonna boringly go rookie guard.
Yeah.
You should do Genty.
Yeah.
I have Genty as my RB1.
Yeah, I do too. Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs is really good too. But yeah, I'm going to do it. Give me Genty for my running back. That uses my second rookie spot. I think
the other receivers are just better than Travis. I think there's a couple of receivers out there that it would be really impressive if Travis Hunter was better than.
Yeah. I don't think you'll like the receiver that I end up taking for my other one, but
okay.
So I was considering like Jahad Campbell at linebacker, but I got rid of that idea a while ago. So I was kind of going between taking Will Campbell to be my guard, Travis Hunter to be a wide receiver, or Ashton Genty at running back with or Bijan Robinson there. So, um, we don't share anything in common now. So I'll go ahead and just lock in Christian Gonzalez since we talked about him. I think Christian Gonzalez is awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, Oop, I put it in the wrong spot.
Were they the same draft, Gonzalez and Witherspoon?
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I had Gonzalez corner one in that draft.
I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember. I think I had Gonzalez over Witherspoon. I'm pretty sure. I think I had a guy over both of them who stinks, if I remember correctly. I don't know who though.
Forbes. Was that
No,
2023?
I don't think I would have had Forbes above Gonzalez. I liked Forbes, but I don't think I would have had him above Gonzalez.
Yeah, I will pull that up while you make your picks, and we'll circle back.
I'll go ahead at running back and take Bijan Robinson. I know people will be upset that it's not Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Bijan Robinson's actually better. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is running behind the best offensive line in the sport, and was in a Ben Johnson offense that I think Ben Johnson's a genius. So, and then I guess I should just go down the list. At offensive tackle, I will go with Charles Cross from Seattle, who I think is underrated. Seattle's had a bad O-line, and I understand that. It's because Abraham Lucas has been in and out of the lineup, and their interior O-line's bad. If you look at Charles Cross, he has not allowed a lot of pressure, not allowed a lot of sacks, good PFF grades, grain of salt, obviously, but give me Charles Cross. A lot of Seahawks on my team. Didn't realize that was going to happen. Uh-oh. Am I frozen?
Hello, hello.
There we go. I'm back. Don't know what
All right,
happened.
there he is. Okay,
Don't know how much you heard what I said there, but a lot of Seahawks.
Yeah, awesome. So Charles Cross, I do have those cornerback rankings. It was 2023. I had Christian Gonzalez, Devon Witherspoon, and Joey Porter Jr. all three in my top 10 overall players that year.
I had Porter Jr. 1. I know that now.
Yeah, you were Porter Jr. 11, Gonzalez 12, Witherspoon 15.
Oh, okay. I actually would have thought I thought I was even lower than Witherspoon than that. I might have been, and closer to the draft, I might have bumped him up. Where did I have Forbes?
Forbes, you had at 19.
Yeah,
I had him at 32.
That was a bad take by me.
We both had Brian Branch 20. And then I had Keely Ringo 24. You had him 33.
I've been disappointed by Ringo, but he hasn't gotten that many chances either. So yeah. I don't know.
All right. So that was your picks, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just quarterback. I'll go C.J. Stroud.
That's what I figured.
I debated Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams was just in an awful situation last year. I expect it to be better, but I've seen it in the NFL with Stroud, and I haven't seen it in the NFL with Williams yet. Yeah. So I'll go there. I'm going to skip wide receiver for now because I'm still debating two guys, and I'll plug in Sam Laporta as my tight end. You got a lot of Seahawks. I got a lot of Lions on my team. That makes 4.
Probably better. Have Lions than Seahawks, but
all right. So that throws it back to you for 2 picks.
I'll take Will Campbell.
Yeah.
For my guard spot there. Have they announced what he's playing?
I am not sure.
I feel like he's going to play tackle.
He probably will.
Yeah. And he probably should start out as a tackle. Honestly, they should give him the chance. Give him the chance to play tackle. If you can't, you can always move him inside. I think you have really changed the way I think about this. The whole thing, the spiel you have where it's if you start a guy inside at the start of his career and he's really good there, you're not going to want to move him. You're going to just go draft a tackle or get a tackle. And if he's not good there, you're not going to trust him to play a harder position at tackle. So you've changed my thinking on that. I almost always now, if anybody's a fringe guy, I'm like, start him out at tackle. It doesn't work, shift him inside. And then if he's not good there, throw him in the trash.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely the approach I would have, especially if like if your concern is length, I'm always going to give that guy, if he's good, a shot to stick at tackle, and knowing that that limitation goes away if we kick him into guard. And so for a guy like Cameron Williams, like the Eagles drafted, I noted he might be a candidate to go to guard, but it's not because of his length. It's because of a lot of footwork related things that like makes me think, yeah, that guy I'd probably just stick at guard. But yeah, if it's just the length related conversation, especially for a guy that otherwise is considered a really good prospect, I'm almost always going to try him at tackle first.
And then I'll pander here, but it's not a pander because I actually had him ranked above. I had him ranked above Jared Verse. I think Nolan Smith I would take today going forward over Jared Verse. How about that for a take, Shane Half?
That is a take. I probably would not. No, I definitely would not, but I do really like Nolan Smith and what he's grown into, and he was on a tear at the end of the season last year, so it's possible that that could end up looking very good by the time we get there.
I don't want to go here because I maybe pull up Verse's draft. I think I was relatively really high on Verse. I guess Verse's draft is last year, but I was relatively really high on Verse. But if you go in and dive into the way he's being talked about, and I know he was really good against an amazing Eagles defensive line there, or offensive line there. Jared Verse had 4.5 sacks last year. I feel like the way he's being talked about, and I know we go deeper than that now. We have more, pressure rate and stuff rate and win stop, and he's good against the run, and that's part of the appeal of Verse is that he's a 3-down guy. Nolan Smith had 6.5 sacks and then had 4 sacks in the playoffs. And if you just shrink it down, because you take out the first 4 games where Nolan was rotating in a lot more, the defense was kind of a mess. They were still getting used to the Fangio style. After the bye week, Nolan played, this is bad radio, even though we're not on the radio, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So over 16 games, Nolan Smith had 10.5 sacks last year and graded out really well against the run as well and played more and more snaps as the season went on for a Super Bowl team. I actually think, obviously I'm not even going to give credence to the TJ Watt Nolan Smith joke of a conversation that was had a couple weeks ago, obviously, especially since TJ Watt just got $41 million a year from Pittsburgh. Nolan Smith, I actually don't think we are properly appreciating how good he was down the stretch on that Super Bowl team. And then the fact that the only game he didn't get a sack in the last 6 games of the year, and the only playoff game he didn't get a sack in was the game he tore his pec off the bone in the Super Bowl and played through it. Or what do I have the right? Was it pec?
Did he tear his pec? I feel
Nolan Smith played through an injury in the whole Super Bowl. I believe it was a pec.
Oh yeah. No. I don't remember.
Let me look this up. But anyway, Nolan Smith, triceps. He tore his triceps in the first half, played the entire second half, and underwent the surgery days later.
Okay.
And that was, the joke was he was off a lot of pain pills at the at the parade when he was drunk off his butt. But I Nolan Smith, what he did, that I knew I remembered that. I knew I didn't make that up. Tore his triceps, played through the rest of the game. That's the only playoff game he didn't get a sack in. I think Nolan Smith this year arrives as a premier pass rushing edge rusher, not just an Eagle, across the NFL. I think he has a chance to be an all-pro this year. I really do.
Yeah, I think there's more projection to that for him than there is for Verse. I mean, sack total. I don't love sack totals. I know we talk about them a lot, but I mean, Verse ended the year 6th in pass rush win rate and 4th in total pressures, and was a good run defender. So
great run defender. Yeah.
Nolan is a better run defender than Verse is, but I think Verse is a better pass rusher.
10.5 sacks to I know that it's not just sack total, but 10.5 sacks. It's pretty good pass rusher.
Yeah, I mean it's good, but he doesn't win with the rate and technique that Verse does. And I think there's a lot of growth for that because he's got a tremendous athletic profile, a better athletic profile than Verse does. So I think the potential is certainly there, and he's still early in his career. So
So here's a question I would have: like, is there a chance because Nolan is such a? I mean, his comparison was DeAndre Hopkins as a defensive end, like whereas Verse is like a defensive end, where he's winning with his moves and he's got a bag of moves and he can do the spins and the swims and like he can go to a lot of different ways to beat a guy. Whereas Nolan is beating you with his athleticism. Is there something to the fact that I think he probably will continue to get higher sack totals going forward than Verse? And when he beats a guy, he's going to beat a guy and he's going to get to the quarterback. Whereas Verse has to do a lot to get to the quarterback. Is there something to be said there?
Yeah, and it's also always, I mean, the Jalen Carter impact is also always going to be helpful as well because you're getting that push up the center to flush a quarterback out into what's natural. I mean, he rushes against the right, or excuse me, the right tackle most of the time, which is where most quarterbacks are going to roll, and so that's helpful. I actually saw, I'm trying to find it now. Eric put out a thing on Twitter where he had gone back.
Yes, I saw this.
Yeah, here it is. When he had rewatched a lot of Nolan Smith's play from last year, talking about how he rushed from the left side, not very frequently, but when he did, it was incredible. He had 45 rush attempts. Sorry, I hate how the terminology works. He had 45 rush attempts from the right side, which is against the left tackle because it's flipped. So
yes, yeah.
But when he rushed from the right side against the left tackle, he was highly productive. He had 5 sacks and 10 pressures and 45 attempts from that side. And so you do get some small sample size stuff out of that. But he was noting some pretty big differences in technique and how he rushed from that side. So maybe he switches sides and maybe that unlocks some things, or maybe it's just a small sample size thing. But that was an interesting tidbit as well.
I guess my other argument is I don't think Nolan Smith is ever going to be, or not ever, but over the next 5-ish years, I think last year's the worst version of Nolan Smith we're going to see. Like, I believe in that guy from all accounts. The guy is, a worker and it has worked himself. I thought he was much more of a project than this. Like, I did not think he would be that in year 2, especially on a Super Bowl winning team. So, like, I think this is only going to keep getting better for Nolan.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right.
Did I make 2 picks there? Yeah, I picked Campbell and Smith. Yeah, I talked a lot about Smith. That's my
Yeah, you did. All right. Well, I'll take my center is going to be Joe Tippmann. Was that the other center you had there?
Yeah, I would have taken Tippmann. I had Powers Johnson listed as a third guy, but
okay. Yeah. And then I'll fill in Kobe Dean as my linebacker. He's the only other guy I have listed that's not a rookie, and I can't take a rookie, so he was awesome last year. The injury thing, we'll see if he comes back off of it. But if he does, he's clearly the best option left. So that throws it to you, Mark. Finish out your D-line and your safety, and then I'll make my much-awaited wide receiver pick.
I will go with Byron Murphy. We've talked about him before. Didn't have a great year last year, but he was fine. Graded out as like a fine defensive tackle, passable, above average, but think he'll probably be better this year. I wasn't even like a huge fan of his coming out. I would rather have Derek Harmon or Walter Nolan, if I'm being honest, but I've kind of locked myself in here to rookies at not exciting spots. And there's a big part of me that wants to take Xavier Watts. I really want to do it. He was my safety one, but I'm going to take Kyle Hamilton's new running mate. Give me Malachi Starks. I think Xavier Watts looks ugly on the graphic, so I'll be honest. I'm doing it. I'm doing it for the pander crowd. Give me Malachi Starks.
All right. Sorry, who did you say you took for D-line? I was
Byron Murphy, Seattle. Yet Byron another Murphy. Seahawk.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got 3 Eagles, 4 Seahawks, and 2 Ravens.
All right. I'm down to 2 guys for wide receiver that I've been debating amongst myself this entire time who to take. And I'm just going to go. I'm going to go with the guy that I just really like. Give me Ladd McConkey.
That's the right pick.
Okay. I debated also Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ladd McConkey, man, he was really good last year. And there's going to be concerns about his durability, I think. Like, I think that's always going to be a concern with him. And Eric's also posted out some stuff about how many injuries he's had over like his high school and his college career. But last season, he was 10th in yards per route run, 6th in EPA per target, and 6th in boom rate. He's going to have some limitations with his size, but he's a great separator. And I've got the size with Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors. So give me Ladd McConkey to round it out. And so there it is. That is our draft. I'll read them off here for the people that are watching, or excuse me, that are listening, not watching. So I have at quarterback CJ Stroud, Ashton Genty at running back, wide receiver trio of Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, Ladd McConkey, with Sam Laporta at tight end, and then an offensive line of Paris Johnson Jr., Tyler Smith, Joe Tippmann, Jackson Powers Johnson, and Penei Sewell. On defense, I have Abdul Carter, Jalen Carter, Keanu Benton, and Jared Verse up front, with Leo Chenal and Nakobe Dean at linebacker, and then a secondary of Trent McDuffie, Derek Stingley, Christian Gonzalez, Brian Branch, and Kirby Joseph. Mark, on the offensive side, has Jaden Daniels at quarterback with Bijan Robinson in the backfield, Puka Nacua, Drake London, and Jackson Smith and Jigba at wide receiver, Brock Bowers at tight end, and an O-line of Charles Cross, Peter Skoronski, Zach Frazier, Will Campbell, and Joe Alt. On defense, he has Nolan Smith, Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, and Will Anderson up front, with Edgerrin Cooper and Ivan Pace Jr. at linebacker, and then a secondary of Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Devon Witherspoon, Kyle Hamilton, and Malachi Starks. You have an entire bird-based secondary, Mark.
Yeah, it's a shame. Kyle Hamilton should be an Eagle. That's another conversation. But imagine Quinyon, DeJean, and Hamilton. Oh, that's secondary, but your secondary is just as good. So I'd say that some of the best players that didn't get drafted, I think the two best players clearly that didn't get drafted are Jahmyr Gibbs and Devon Achane. And that's just comes down to position. We took Genty and Bijan Robinson, who I think are the correct two picks. So, people will not like that. People love Jahmyr Gibbs, but
yeah, there are so many wide receivers. Like, we didn't draft Marvin Harrison Jr., Zay Flowers, George Pickens, Jordan Addison, Jamison Williams, Xavier Worthy's just fast, but
Tet McMillan.
A cornerback we left off that could have easily been drafted is Christian Benford from Buffalo.
Yep.
I think he's clearly the seventh guy on the list, but he's really good. So there's
who would have been the top rookie corners this year? I'm drawing a blank off the top. Why? This is not good. That's not good for my brain that I can't call back 3 months.
It's been a long time since the draft.
Will Johnson,
Travis Hunter, Benjamin Morrison, Darian Porter. Wasn't the greatest cornerback draft in terms of highly wanted guys.
So I was a little biased there. But corners, again, like just another position, so many guys. I think Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan. I think I'm missing another tackle that went pretty
Mason
high.
Graham.
Yeah, I wasn't as high on Graham, but yeah, Graham definitely.
I considered using a rookie pick on Mason Graham. If Keanu Benton hadn't been there, Mason Graham probably would have been my next guy.
James Pierce, I know I was a good bit higher on than a lot of other guys. Jahad Campbell. You can make an argument for Jalen Walker. You can make an argument for if you wanted to use him as a linebacker. I think both these teams are really good.
Yeah. So my most drafted team was the Lions. I ended up with 4 Lions. Your most drafted team is it Seattle?
Seahawks. Yeah, 4 Seahawks and 3 Eagles.
Yeah, all right. Well, there you go. You guys can let us know in the comments whose team you think is better. Obviously, it's mine, but you can act like it was a hard decision for you when you're talking about it, so Mark feels good about his team. But Mark, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
We split the Eagles 2-3, so that should help the vote. But you have Carter, so you have like the main Eagle. So I think the Eagle pandering should even out here.
Yeah, as it should be. It's nice that Eagle pandering doesn't decide things always. So when you're trying to do a whole NFL podcast, you can't have too much Eagles pandering going on. It makes it hard to be objective. But
we got to find another draft to do. I'm in draft mode. Well, we have one coming up, but I don't know how. That'll probably be closer to the season.
Yeah,
our awards draft.
Yeah, we'll have to figure something out. I don't know what we're gonna do next time around, but it's been a little hit or miss in the summer here. But we are getting ever closer to the NFL season, and cannot wait to get into covering actual football games again. But that is going to do it for this episode number 196 of Chalk Talk. If you enjoy what you heard, and we know that you do, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next episode. Drop us a 5-star rating and review wherever you stream your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at Shane Half NFL. He is at Mark Henry Jr. And we will catch you guys next time.